Oh, Renata, thank you. Thank you for joining me live today.
Thank you so much for having me again. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, and it's always lovely to explore with you and just share the energy and learn new things. And I can see Joe is with us saying hello to us. So yeah, thank you for joining us. So we're going to explore something really different today. And I know we can't be outside with the herd because of the internet.
Yeah.
But that's just one of those things.
But they're not far away. So very sensitive people may probably be aware of the horses. So it's only about 20 meters. So
yeah,
there they are. So
I always feel that energy with you, you know, that is like a part of you.
Yeah.
And today we're going to explore something completely different, aren't we?
Well, I don't know if it is completely different. I would like to talk about constellation work. And it was only about a year ago that I found out that the horses put themselves, when I work with people, that they kind of so much deep into this system that the herd itself works like this constellation work.
Right.
And but first I would like to explain what it is.
Yes.
Constellation work. So I got into contact with that about it must have been about around 2000. And I was attending a coaching class, and part of it was constellation work. And it came up about, I think it was in the 80s. And one of the people who first explored it was Rupert Sheldrake.
Right.
And he found about the morphic field. In former days, it was called morphogenetic field.
Right.
And so wherever we are, let's take just people. Yeah. So wherever we are in connection with the people around us.
Yeah.
Where we work, and especially we are in the field of our family. And it's not only the family, the actual family right now, so like husband and children, or brother and sister, but the whole system goes back to all your ancestors.
Right.
And so we are all connected. We do not see it. It's not. It's invisible, but it's here, and it works. And when you change one part or work on one relationship in this field, the whole system is changing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like when there was, let's say, a couple of generations back, when there were a couple of children who died very early, or who were given away, and no one ever talked about them, this has an enormous influence on the whole system in the now.
Right.
And so normally, so how I learned it, constellation work, you have a couple of people, they gather, and then there is one person who has a certain problem at the moment, and they they tell about the problem, and then the person who is leading the group ask a couple of questions so that everyone knows a bit about the situation and can feel the system, and that the system is in the room. And then the person who presents the problem is choosing persons in the room, people in the room, for a certain character. So let's say they choose someone for the mother, and someone for the father, and one for the grandmother, and the grandfather from the mother, and then also from the other side from the father. And they touch the person, and they find the right space for them in the room. And then they also choose someone for themselves, and also place the person in the field. And then every person who is set up reports what they are feeling. So it normally takes a certain time. It depends on how often people have done this before, but usually it takes 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, and then you can ask people how they feel. And the really fantastic thing about this work is that they start to act and to behave, often even to speak like the person they are representing.
Wow.
Although they have never ever met this person before. And so they tell how they feel, what they experience. Sometimes when people are very sensitive, they can give more information. And so they have been put on a certain place, and the place where they stand is important. And often it's that they say, okay, I'm too close to this person, I do not feel good here, I would rather like to move backwards or forward, or I would like to stand next to another person. Or someone even says, I don't want to stand, I want to lay down, or I want to leave. And this is all very important information. And so often then it shows, already starts to show the problem. That let's say, for instance, that there is a couple, and they have placed 2 children there, and then they do not want to stand close together, and they say there is something missing in between. And then the mother is asked if there was a miscarriage or an abortion. And then sometimes the mother knows, or sometimes also like a secret comes up. And that's in the field, it can't be hidden. If there is a child in between them, it will show up.
Wow.
And so let's say there is a child in the middle, then a person is picked to be this child. And when it's a dead child, the person immediately feels that she or he wants to lay down. And this changes the system. This changes the whole system, that there is now a child inside which has never been recognized or seen. And then it can be short, but it can also take a long time until the soul of this dead child has been acknowledged and seen enough. And then the soul will say, okay, I'm in peace now, and I can go. And so let's say this has happened in the generation of the grandparents.
Right.
Then this influences up to the now. And perhaps the person who is putting up the system perhaps had difficulties with her own children. And this this child which has not been seen and now is seen, the system can change in a way that maybe the children, if this was the question, that the children now are more friendly with one another.
Right. Wow.
And when people work like that, you never stop until everyone who is in the field is satisfied. Therefore, it can take up to 2 hours. So how I do it or how I have learned it, it might take up to 2 hours till everyone has found the right position.
So this isn't something you do like just with one person. You need other people there.
Yeah, so that's what I said. You have we normally have a group about 10 people, and they are the representatives. So there, I choose one for my mother, and I choose one for my father, and one for,
Right.
as
So
I said, these
always,
are real, yeah.
Always a group.
Yeah, it can also be done differently. It can also be done without other people, and you use pillows to stand on. And
right.
you put, to set up the pillows on the floor, and then the person who is presenting the problem is going to stand on each pillow and feel into this position.
Right.
That's possible as well. I think it works much better when you really have people as representatives.
Yeah.
And what I found out now when I'm working with people with the horses is that I would like to give an example, because then it's very easy to be understood.
Yeah. Let me just have a quick look, because Karen is with us as well. Joe says, I can imagine this being very healing experience for those with intergenerational trauma, where connections feel impaired. And Karen has said it resonates with her own life experience, and will be studying further. And Joe said, it could model supportive family around those who haven't had it before.
I didn't get that, the last one.
She said it could model supportive family around those who haven't had it before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt you then.
No problem. And what I would also like to say, when you're a representative, it always has something to do with you, because you are chosen from the person, and the person doesn't, it's not accidentally that you were chosen for a certain role.
Right.
So it's also healing work for you if you're a representative. Not only you heal the system when you set up your system, but also when you are chosen.
Right.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating how it influences, and it's yeah, I really like this work. I really do. So and I'm doing it regularly. I join a group regularly once a month, and it's I really enjoy it. And probably therefore I'm also open and started to see that the horses are doing it. So I would like to bring an example. I had a lady, and she came to me because she had problems in her work. And she said that there is a group of colleagues, and she feels a bit mobbed and not being treated friendly, but she is a very polite person, and she doesn't like quarrel, and while she was, and there were three others in her team.
Yeah.
And while she was talking, and we were with the horses, especially one horse came very close and started to be a bit tiresome and annoying. Yeah. So she came too close. It was Lily. Okay. So the mule.
Yeah.
And she started to come too close and started a bit of biting. Not really mean, but like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then came another one, another horse, and it just came very close but didn't do anything. And then the client says, well, the mule exactly behaves like one of the team members. And the other horse that came so close was also a member of the team. And then there was a third horse who was also close, but it seemed as if this one is looking away and not paying attention to what's happening.
Wow.
And she said, oh, and that's Conrad, the name of the guy. And suddenly she said, well, the whole team is here. So the animals, while she was talking about the system in her office, the animals picked up the energy. And according to the character of each of the horses, they put themselves into the places she explained. So she explained that one person is always picking on her. Yeah, like this.
Yeah.
And one person, she explained, comes too close, doesn't gets into her border. And one person, actually the team leader, doesn't pay attention to that and kind of looks away.
Right.
So we really had the whole system of her working team here. And then I said, okay, so what is it you can change now? What are you aware of? What are they doing? And well, it came down to the point that she realized that she's not paying attention at her own energy. She allows too much in order to prevent aggression or quarrel and discussions. She says yes to everything.
Right.
And we worked on that so that she starts to expand. So first come into her body and then starts to expand and allow herself to take her place, to be within her. And
Yeah.
so we did a bit of energy work and pulling energy from the earth and from the universe. And you could see that as soon as she started to realize that when she allows her energy to flow and to expand, that the others would step back. And as soon as she has realized and started to do it, Lily started was fighting less, and the big horse was moving away a bit further. And it took I don't know how long it was, but so filling her with energy and making herself strong made the others move away. And the horse, which was looking away, finally also turned round and came nearer. So at the end, we had the situation that she was still in the middle, but the others backed up and gave her enough space and started to do their own stuff. So didn't focus on her any longer.
Wow.
And I got feedback about a week afterwards, and she said that it was really impressive that it worked the same way as we did it with the horses. So she focused on being in her energy when she comes to the office, and the others gave her space.
Wow.
Yeah, so she really confirmed that. I was very astonished that it really worked like that. And now she could see the horses in the people. So she said, okay, this one Lily is far away today, and
I love that.
yeah, and Spark is watching, and yeah, and Mayole is not that close. So she yeah, that was really a nice work, and shows how that works.
Yeah, that's a fabulous example. And I love the fact that you could also share how it changed in real life in the office as well.
Yeah, yeah,
That's amazing. And I mean that's purely changing energy, isn't it?
yeah, it is. And
But
it shows so clearly how this morphic field is working. As soon as you talk about it, you are in that energy. So she was talking about work. So she opened up the morphic field of her work situation and not her family situation, because if she would have talked about her family situation, I don't know, husband, children, um, the other field would have come up, and then you wouldn't have had the colleagues, but perhaps her father and her mother or a sister.
yeah, that's
So
amazing. Jenny said, Jenny's with us, wonderful systemic way to understand and change their conflictive energy experiences with intergenerational family systems. Wonderful that the horses can be family representatives
yeah,
or colleague representatives. And Karen has said, cool about the horses and how you were seeing the system in their interactions. And Joe has said, fantastic to see thought, emotions materialize into physical space and animal behavior.
absolutely. And what I like with this, or what I found out, that of course when we do this work with people, the constellation work, the person who is setting up the system chooses a person as a representative. And when we do, as I do it with the horses pick their role themselves.
Yeah.
So they pick the energy which fits best for them. I have another example. I was working with a lady, and we were even sitting on the grass, so next to each other. And she was talking about her father and telling a story about her father, and how he behaves, and that he is very insecure, and that he can't make decisions, and that's always her mother who decides everything within the family, and that he suffers from them, that he is not seen and not recognized. So that what she was talking about. And then we were sitting out in the grass, and the other horses, or all of the horses, were quite far away. And you could see that one horse is standing a bit, not with the group, but standing alone. And this was Naioli. And when she was telling that, and telling her experience about her father and how he behaves and what he does, Naioli suddenly came, and he didn't even come. He didn't come slowly, but he was always trotting, and stopped in between us. So I was sitting on one, and there was not much space between us, but he came fast and stopped between us. And then, well, she knew the horses, and she was not afraid. And then she said, "Oh, that's my father."
Wow.
Okay. And then I received a message from him, and he said, "That's not true. It's not true that I'm not seen, or that I can't do that. You do not realize what I do, and I do it on a different level." And as soon as he has, and then I said so. So I told her what he said, and as soon as he has delivered his message, he went back again to the group, to the family, and again stood a bit outside, not in the very core. And she was overwhelmed. She said, "Oh, wow." And then she started to think, and then she herself realized that might be she has misinterpreted a couple of situations she was aware between him and her mother. And because it was typical, she said it's normal that he is standing outside, but standing outside doesn't mean that he has no influence, or that he's weak. He just likes to be like that. And so this changed her whole universe, that he has brought this this message.
Yeah.
And I got also feedback on that from this client. She said that she could change her perspective, that it's his way to work and to interact with people, not being that close. He needs more space around himself, and it's not that he is bullied or that he is put aside, but he chooses that deliberately. And that situation, through that she could change her how she looks at the system.
Yeah.
And this didn't only change something for her, but also for the family and for her siblings.
Wow.
And this was also one of the situations where also the horse had chosen to be that person.
That's amazing. I mean, I love the way the messages come through as well. And
Yeah.
and the interaction, and it's so precise. It's so definite.
Mm-hmm. It was. So it must really work like this. As soon as a person is speaking about a system, the horses already have, each horse picks another character which is mentioned. That's how I can explain it for me.
But I've got something here from Karen. I don't know whether you want to answer it now, or whether you want to come back later. But what she said is, so when you were speaking about intergenerational effects of separation of a person from the system, I think you used the loss of a child.
Yeah.
I think of my adoption and how that affected the people in the biological family and the adopted family. I'm also thinking about a child in my current family who I'm grandmothering, but who is not my biological grandchild. He's a very hurting child. He was abandoned by his biological mother, abused by some of her men, extracted a few times from the lives of his brothers, and never acknowledged properly by his father. He acts out daily his anger and frustration and hurt. The impact that this child experience has also had on all of us, because we are the nuclear family, and what effect it's had on his brothers.
So adoption is a very big topic and often is set up in a constellation work, and it works very, very well. When you can set up, if you're the mother who has adopted a child, you are allowed to set up the system for the child until it's 18. From the age of 18 on, they're responsible for themselves. But when you have adopted a child, you can set up the system for the child. And usually you use the family, the foster family where it's growing up, and also the other family. So you have both families in the system as it is, yeah.
Mm.
And this brings really, that's one of the yeah, this goes very deep. I get goosebumps when talking about it, yeah, because it so much helps.
Yeah.
I took part in one work where a mother set up the constellation for an adopted child, for an adopted girl. She is 16 of them now, and she is so difficult. She has emotional problems, psychological problems, and also health issues. And is also suicidal. And the mother set up the system of both families, and it was really an intense work, really. And almost everyone was crying. But the outcome was that almost immediately after, when she got home, the child or the teenager behaved differently. And so that's now about 4 months ago. And it had brought a significant change in the relationship between her and the adopted child, and has brought a bit more ease with all the other issues. And there is probably 1 or 2 more settings that they have to do, but it works, especially with children, it works very fast.
Wow. That's really amazing, isn't it? I hope that information helps Karen.
There are she can look it up. Perhaps there is a group in her surrounding. There are different ways how a constellation work can be done. It's not always only Robert Sheldrake who offered that or found out about it. There is many do it in the way like Bert Hellinger did. I don't like that too much because he's very strict in how the system has to be set up. Then there is, and he often gives people sentences they have to say,
Right.
and they cannot choose their own sentences. But there is a lot of information. I'm pretty sure that there are also a lot of groups in England and in Wales.
Well, Karen's in the USA.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she just said that she thinks that he's 12 years old. She thinks he'd benefit a lot from it.
I'm sure. Yeah.
There must be groups in the USA.
Yeah. If she wants to, she can message me and I can tell her more about it, how it works. If she has a special question, I can message with her. So no problem.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
I'm sure you'd appreciate that, Karen, and in understanding which as well what would be the best group for it and what to look out for, because you know you want to be in the right place, don't you?
Yeah. So the group we have, there is a group of about 6 people who come very regularly. So they're also used to the work, because the more often you do it, the quicker you get the information.
Right.
When you have done it more often, you get pictures and you get sentences and you get more information than only, okay, I feel good or feel bad, I want to go away. You really get, you really can dip into the system.
Karen said, thank you very much. She will do that.
Okay, so.
And Joe just said about it helping in children's homes, but would it be?
So you can only set up a system where you are part of. You
Right.
can't do it for someone else. You can do it in an office when you're a member of a team. You can do it in an office when you're the boss and it's your family, it's your business. You can do it for yourself, so that you set up your family. You can't do it, you can do it for your children, but not when they are older than 18, and you can't do it for someone else.
And what about, can children do this work or not until they're 18?
They can as well.
Right.
Yeah, so they are free to, if probably teenagers, but this special teenager I talked about, she didn't want it.
Right.
But still, although she didn't want it, the mother is allowed to do it because she is also part of the system.
Right. Right, because she's not actually doing anything to the child.
Yeah.
She's doing the work for herself,
Yeah.
which will impact the child.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's very different, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, because whatever work we do for ourselves will always impact those around us.
And especially with children, especially when the children are young children are always carrying the symptom of the system. It's never that when, let's say, a young child is mute and doesn't speak, yeah, it's very, very likely that this child indicates the problem of the system. And then you set up the system and you can find out what's the reason for that and heal that as well.
I tell you the question that came to mind for me. When you do the work with the herd, the horses and donkeys themselves choose who they're going to represent.
Yeah.
And take on that persona. Yeah. And bring messages.
Right.
When you do it with people, the person chooses who's going to be who's going to represent a part. How do you think it would change if instead of choosing who represented, the people were allowed to say, I'm going to be the father, I'm going to...
I think that if the representatives are ones who have done this work often,
Right.
then they already resonate with the system when it was just freshly laid out. But the person who is bringing the system is part of it and
Right.
feels the characters precisely.
Right.
When I hear about a system for 4 minutes or 5 minutes and I'm not very trained, I'm not that well in the system already.
Right.
So I would rather say it's better that the person who brings up the system also picks the person whom they shall represent.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And it also shows how amazing the herd are.
Yeah.
And how much more sensitive they are.
Yeah.
That they don't have to know or understand the system.
Not anything. They don't know who they are. If they are a mother, a father, a child, they don't care. They just match with the energy.
Yeah. And they do it so easily, don't they?
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
instant. It's there. They're just in that energy.
It's always instant. And as soon as the energy then of the person has changed, the horse is gone or does something. Just in the very second, the mind has changed or the energy has changed.
Yeah. That's absolutely beautiful, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the fascinating thing is that I do not do it. I do not offer this on purpose. So this happens by itself. It doesn't happen always. But when I have a person and she talks about the family, then suddenly the person realizes, okay, that's my mother. Oh, that's my sister. So the person then realizes which horse is.
And that's immense in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, of course, it then happens because of the behavior.
Yeah.
So when I had a client and she how was that? I forgot the exact. But it was so clear that Lexi, so the donkey, was the very caring mother, and that Roxy was a sister, and that the sister kind of was jealous because the mother was so close to the client and not close to her. So then Roxy, so the big tinker horse, the Irish cob, she tried or she did got angry towards Lexi, and then the client said, "Oh, that's exactly how my sister behaves towards my mother."
Wow.
Yeah, and then we analyzed that, and I asked her to go a bit further away from her mother, so that there was equal distance between her mother and both of the sisters. And then I asked her to feel how it feels in this position. And then she said, when I am in this position, I feel much closer to my sister. Because she normally was very close to the mother, which brought her further away from her sister, and her sister was jealous. And then she was talking about family problems, and then she realized that, so also in the field, she realized that when she's further away from the mother, she could feel her sister better, and her feelings towards her sister changed. And then the sister, so Roxy, came closer to her, and the mother was not that much the center any longer. So the two sisters made contact, and she started to scratch Roxy, and she really liked that, and the mother was fine with that. So wow. They kind of could open this too close relationship between mother and daughter, and open this up the system to the sister. And this client also told me that afterwards it was much easier with her sister.
Wow, and her sister was not as
not involved. No.
Wow, that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I just love it. I've just
me too.
and I love what you've shared in the actual understanding of the constellation coaching, and given the examples with the herd. I mean, that's just been, oh, you know, you've had me on the edge of my seat listening.
Thank you.
You know, it's so nice to hear about how you've seen it affect in real life.
Yeah, that's I always like that when I get feedback. I also ask for feedback. So when people leave, I said, please tell me what has changed and how you feel, and please tell me. I always like to know that.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Karen's had to go. She's going to access the rest later. Jo has said she's finding it very inspiring, and creativity is a light.
Yeah.
And that's just how I feel as well. You know, I feel so like, oh, excited and inspired and energized.
Yeah, it's really fun work to do, and
yeah,
it's not that I focus on that, and it's not with every client. So it's the client, her or himself, who say, oh, that's this person and that's this person. So it kind of happens naturally, and that's fantastic. And the horses are not forced to do anything.
No,
but they do it. They do it because they know.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know you never force them. They can wander off and just go. They none of them are made to be in any place. It's what they choose to do and how they choose to interact, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that makes it really special.
And also when the message is delivered, and when the system is in the right position, they go. Then it's done.
Yeah. They know energetically when the work is done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I've enjoyed this so much, and I appreciate your time, and I know everybody's enjoyed you being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me and having me. And I love talking about that.
I can tell. I feel the energy from it.
Yeah.
And your energy, and that's wonderful. And I know everybody's felt that energy, but and I'm sure that oh, Joe says brilliant session, thank you. So yes, I think so. I've really enjoyed this, and I know you'll come back again and share some more energy.
Yeah, I love to come. It's so nice to talk to you. It makes it easy for me to talk.
Thank you, thank you. And thank you everybody who's been with us, and everybody who watches on the replay. The wonderful thing is it's always here in the group. You can return to any time at all. And you know, if anybody's heading off to Austria, you can always
You're welcome to join me.
what a wonderful invitation is that, okay? I'd be there in a flash. It's going to happen one day, I know, but we'll stop the live stream now.
Okay.
And say goodbye to you all, and thank you.
Bye-bye.